So I get to be the cleanup hitter, which is great, and I probably won't go on for more than 5 minutes. But I'm going to ask you to pay more attention. I mean, yours was wonderful and you did have a colon, but I have real slides with cartoons. So you have to pay attention to the two things. So I'm going to talk about negative ads and myths about negative ads and myths about media, etc. in elections based on my own experience. Now, for those of you who don't know me, I'm going off on sabbatical, so I'm really cranky. And I've decided that I'm cranky about everything and everything is wrong. And I'm like a journalist. I'm very cynical right now, so I'm sort of tearing apart a number of myths that I know. So the first myth that I know is the myth about the fact that negative ads don't sit well with us polite Canadians. And this is a myth that I've heard over and over and over again, both from political campaigners and from people in the general public. It's somehow or another, the Canadian public are just so polite that we won't put up with negative ads. And I'm going to tell you, straight to your face, that's crap. We have been doing negative ads in Canada since the 1930s, and we've been doing negative ads very effectively in Canada since the 1930s. R.B. Bennett, in fact, used negative ads in this new medium called radio in order to try and dethrone Mackenzie King in the 1935 election. It didn't work, but it worked badly enough, or caused enough pain for Mackenzie King, that he actually attempted to outlaw the use of political negative ads from there on in. And needless to say, he wasn't effective in making it against the law, and we've been using it ever since. Now, this picture that is on the screen right now is a still from the negative ad that Kim Campbell utilized to try and decimate Jean Chrétien. And what she did was a close-up of his face with his Bell's palsy showing up. And in the ad, they asked the question, is this the face of a leader? And Canadians reacted and responded in such a negative way that she pulled the ad because it's not a nice ad. We're Canadians, we're polite. But you know what? That ad actually was working. And Kim shouldn't have pulled it because the polling figures and everybody behind the scenes said that ad was having an effect. And in Canada, in the last kind of election, we've been seeing a lot of negative ads through Harper, and guess what? Those negative ads worked as well. The next myth we have is that negative ads and negative campaigns suppress voter turnout. On the one hand, this could be a compelling argument. On the other hand, it's not really clear if that's the case. There's been numerous studies done in the United States talking about negative ads and whether they suppress or marginalize voters, but it's really not clear, and in my mind, it differs from campaign to campaign on whether or not it does suppress the vote. Some suggest that negative campaigns actually provoke people to vote. They get them angry. It makes them mobilized. And exposure to political ads can be considered a reason for people to actually become cynical about politics, because for some people, the negative ads just play into the fact that we feel that politicians are not doing their job and that politics is an end-sum game and it's not a very good one. For some people, negative ads and campaigns mean that that they are actually become involved or interested in toppling the party that is running the negative ads. So we saw this in this last election. Michael Ignatieff, he didn't come back for you, which was part of the conditioning campaign that the Conservatives. Does anyone know what that means? I mean, I don't really know. I didn't say he was going to come back for me. I'm not sure anybody really made the claim. Like, that was the ad that they ran over and over and over again. And my really, intellectual Charlie Brown teacher voice was going on and on saying this is a stupid ad. But my heart, after a while, started to believe it. I got to believe that, Michael Ignatieff didn't come back for me. He's a bad person. The C word, the coalition, that's another dirty word. After a while, you play the thing over and over and over again, I'm going to start believing you. Negative ads worked. In this case, it worked very well. And in this case, it actually didn't suppress the voter turnout. We had more people show up to vote this time than we had in the last election. So obviously, these negative ads mobilized, or at least to some degree, something was going on that mobilized people. Next one. Canadians should worry about the American-style politics. This falls into the earlier point that somehow or another Canadians are different, read better than Americans, and we shouldn't fall into our US-style trap of dirty politics. Well, first of all, American politics and political ads are different than Canadians because of the sheer expense of running a political ad campaign in the United States compared to Canada, and the sheer expense of running a presidential campaign compared to the Canadian campaigns. We should be more worried in Canada about a number of things, not the political negative ads, but the mere fact that there's a class difference in who is able to run in Canada and who is able to run in the United States. Maybe we should worry about that a little bit more. But also, if you think about it, the American political system is set up in a way that contrasts the Republicans against the Democrats. So if you mount a negative campaign as a Democrat, you're suggesting that you should not vote for the Republicans. And as a member of the public, you go, okay, I'm going to vote for the Democrats. In Canada, we don't have two parties. We have 3 parties, or 4 parties, or 5 parties, all depending on where you are and where you're living. So if I say, don't vote for the Liberals, that doesn't necessarily mean that means I'm going to vote for the Tories. It's the same reason why you don't have negative ads run by McDonald's against the Burger King. Because there's always A&W. And the NDP this time around are the A&W. In essence, you can't do the contrast like you can in the United States. And so we're not going to have the same kind of ad. But the other thing too is, you know, we live in Canada, we are influenced by all things that are American. Why wouldn't we adopt some of these styles? Why wouldn't we adopt some of these campaign messages? It works down there, it's going to work up here. It's for the same reason that we adopt other media models as well in the United States and Canada. Okay, the next one. You know, we saw this a lot. It was the picture of the Canadian soldiers in Afghanistan working to preserve democracy. And people were talking on and on again about the fact that if you don't vote, well, puppies die. But also, if you don't vote, you're sort of slamming the face of these soldiers who are overseas in Afghanistan. Basically, the idea that suppressed voters turnout is a sign that democracy is dying or that it's in trouble. I don't know if that's true or not. It's true that voter turnout in Canada has been dropping for a number of years, but the claim that democracy is somehow in trouble is overstated. I kind of think that voters in Canada are like the slightly overweight, middle-aged, married man. He kind of likes the way things are. He's comfortable sitting on his couch, watching a hockey game. He's complacent. He's happy. He's lazy. Doesn't mean his marriage is in trouble. It just means he's not going to do too much to change it. When we actually do get off our duffs and vote, we vote to change the government. And as you can see from this chart, which is the next slide, the voter turnout on this slide, which you can't really see, peaks every time we elect a conservative government. So when you look at the voter turnout from 1974 onwards, every time Canadians become cranky, they join the gym club, they lose 25 pounds, and they buy a red convertible, they are getting off the couch and they're voting to replace the Liberals and to put in place the Conservative. Just like that married guy. The last myth, that the media are somehow responsible for voter cynicism. Next one. Last one. Come on. Politicians are why we are cynical. The media just do their job in reporting some of the crap that these guys have been handing us over and over and over again in the surveys that we see about wonderful people like Sheila Fraser. We are all well aware that when they do their job, not politicians but government workers, when they do their job, they do it well, we're going to support them. When they do Weedergate or hand out golf balls, we're going to become cynical. And when you hold a little kitten, we're also going to become cynical. We don't like being played. We don't like the way politicians play us. And that is the reason why we're cynical. The media is not the third man in the grassy knoll. There's no big sort of conspiracy. It's just the way we are right now. And that's me being cranky. I need a break.